Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey everybody. My name is Juan Martinez. I am a Spanish teacher at Kingswood Oxford School in West Hartford, Connecticut. And I also do some work with technology. I help as much as I can. Today I just want to share a few simple tricks with and uses of Google Slides, Google presentations. And I would like if you have any questions, to please use the links on the Google Plus page to get to the today's meet, to get to the Google Doc, and feel free to post some questions, and I'll gladly answer what I can. Again, some uses that I do. Google Presentations, first of all, let's start. It's a very powerful tool. Although it looks very simple, it can be used for a few creative uses, not just a slideshow. So let me get right to it. Here's a couple things that I do with my Spanish classes. Let me share my screen. And what you see here, okay. What you see here, I'm a Spanish teacher, and I do a lot of work with technology at the same time. But I like to do a lot of creative things, a lot of things with technology in my classroom. Some of it I use to help me out, and some of it the students do use it a lot as well. For example, what you see here is a very simple thing for a Spanish teacher. It's the conjugation box, and I use Google Slides to create this conjugation box because I find myself up on the board explaining how a verb works often. And so I just needed a very quick way to project this onto the board, and it gives me a very simple, quick layout. And the way I created this, all of this is one slide on Google Presentations. And what I did is just put a picture of that conjugation box as a background. And if you see the image, all I did is click background, and I clicked the image, and I hit choose, and I just chose that picture. And I set it as a background. And because now it's a background, I can duplicate this slide, and I just have a new conjugation chart for it. So for a Spanish teacher, and I find for me this is a very quick, very effective way of just projecting the box onto the board. And then at that time, what I normally do is I go to the board and I write things on the board with a pen, and my students do as well. They get up and they write. But I can also, at this point, from my computer, insert a text box, and in a text box, and then go from there. So it allows me to do that. Very simple use of Google Slides, not just for a presentation, but a different use as well. Another thing that I've done with my class is this right here. Before the Christmas break, my class was studying vocabulary on movies and critiquing movies and the cinema. So what I had them do is write a critique on a movie. And as you can see, my classes chose Mulan. One group chose Mulan, another group chose the movie Up, and another group chose the movie Searching for Nemo, Buscando a Nemo. And what we decided to do is the groups all worked on a Google Doc to create their language, and the language it's good. All right, some better, a little bit better than others. But at the end of working on their Google Docs, the Google Docs were shared with me. I created this slide, one slide, and then in that slide, I changed the layout. I changed it so that it was profile or vertical, and I ended up putting images and then words and then the documents that they created, the word that they created, so that it looks more appealing. And in a way, it looks like a magazine. It looks like a poster of some kind. And the way I did that, if this film strip right here, for example, we went into search to insert, and I went into images, and I just searched for a film strip. And I did this with the entire class. See, if you search for a film strip, and then you choose a film strip, and I ended up choosing, I think it was this one or this one, and you hit insert, and it puts it right into the Google slide. Now that once it's in there, you can click on the Google slide and then work with it so that you can work with the size and the shape and make it thinner, make it a little bit bigger. So we ended up creating that as a top, and then the bottom one is the exact same one, but just thinner. I just ended up copying this and I put it down at the bottom and I made it a little bit thinner. These here are text boxes, and the text boxes are then filled with the language that my students created in describing and critiquing that movie, and we pasted it in there. Then this here is another text box, but when you create a text box, you get this little dot over here. This is how I ended up taking that text box, and you can flip it, you can move it horizontally, you can move it, and that's how we ended up putting it in the center. And the students are the ones that came up with these ideas. I just was the one at the helm putting it together. And eventually, we'll get to a point that they will do all of this. So then we put it in here. And that's, again, another very simple use of Google Slides other than just a slideshow. All right, this here is now a little poster, a magazine page, and at that point I can go into File and I can download this as a PDF and have a copy of this product. Okay. Then let me show you what else you can do with this. It's not just limited to this. I'm going to show you the EdCamp Global Classroom here, the conference that we're looking at, and the poster that you see on their main website. If you're curious and if you click on that, what that is, this is created by Google Slides. It's a picture with a link to the actual slideshow, and here's the slideshow right here. It is in one slide, and they changed the dimensions on this. You can go to Dimensions and click. This right now is only set for view only, so I ended up making a copy of it so that I can work with it, so to show you what you can do with Google Slides. And here, when you have the editing privileges, you can go into Page Setup and change the size. You can go into widescreen, which this one is at 16.9, but you can go into Custom, and in Custom you can set how big you want this slide to be. Think of a poster. Go with poster size. Think of a newspaper. Think of any size that you can think of, and you can change it to that. So here, just to show you that this is a slide, and they took little pictures and they put them in there and then they moved them around. Each one of these is that link. Each one of these has a link, and eventually there it is. And this is what they used, someone used, to create that picture, that poster that's in the website, the EdCamp Global Classroom website. So you can use Google Slides for very creative and very appealing, visually appealing products, not just for slide presentations. Now, if you're going to use Google Slides for slide presentations, I have little tricks that I use, simple things that I do, and I have my students do, so that their presentation has this little bit of a professional look, or a little bit of a wow factor. And here is a totally brand new slide presentation. And what I do is I start with a blank slide. And so I ended up eliminating everything that's in the slide itself and delete it. So here's a blank slide, here's a blank slide. And on a blank slide, remember, it's blank, blank, and here's what a simple template looks like. And this is what I like to do. And we want to get this slide to look a little bit like this slide, all right? Or to look exactly like that. And the first thing we do is go into the slide itself and go into change background. You can go into change background by control clicking or right clicking if you're a control click, or right click if you're on a Windows machine. Or you can go up into the background, change the background, and here you can choose the color. And I'm going to choose that little gray color that's similar to the one I have there. And you can either choose an image instead of to put in the background. All right, I'm going to go with the color again, a very simple way to just add a little bit of uniformity and a little bit of wow to your slide presentation. All right? So we'll go with that. And then what you do is you insert a table. Okay, go to a table, you insert one table, and that table, just move it over to the corner and make that table grow, all right, more or less around there. And we're going to fill that table with white. So, all right, here we go. We're going to fill the table with white, and there you have it there. Maybe just go a little bit less, and then move the table back up there. And I like to use, you can use, see that red line? It tells you that it's centered. You can use the red lines, but I also like to use the arrange center on the horizontally and arrange center on vertically. And now you have this slide that is similar to what you have down here. Now, to get that little pizzazz, you see on that final slide, I added this little tiny picture right there. And I have a picture that I use, and it's a transparent little tiny picture that I put in. I bring in, if you're on Chrome, I can slide it in, just drop the picture right into the slide itself. And so I then take the picture and I reduce it, and I just want to put it in one little tiny corner. All right, so I'm going to put it right there, and then let's just continue with it. I'm going to put it right there in that little corner right there. And the reason it is white on white, or is even if, because I made the picture transparent, and transparent, if I move it over here, it'll show you the background color will go right through it. So I'm going to just put it right on the white on white, and there's my little template that I like to use. And I show my students this, and they can put the background color into it. They can put an image, they can put a background color, and it adds a little bit of uniformity, because from that point forward, they can just duplicate the slide. And now as they are presenting, or I am presenting, we now have a deck of slides that is uniform, and they can now put in whatever information or images they have in there. And for me and for the students, it organizes just a bit, adds a little bit of wow and uniformity to the presentation. All right. And for example, I created, just going forward, some of the other things that you can do with the Google Slide presentation. Let's create your template, for example, and now you fill it with content. I've used Google Slide presentation with my students a lot, and my students have used it often. It's just very simple, very quick to create very high quality presentations. But I've also used Google Slides for institutional events and institutional purposes. All right. One way to use it, and not the only way, is if you have a bulletin board of some kind, or messages that you want to promote, is to put to publish this presentation. Now, publishing allows you to do several things with this, and let me give you an example of what I mean by publishing. This is a previous Google slide that I created earlier. Okay. And it'll start with, I use this for a presentation that I gave back in, a little tutorial that I gave back in December, so I'm going to just use that again. And you can see that I have my template, very simple template, and I used just content from our daily bulletin, but the content could be anything, any message that you want to put, any pictures that you want to use. So I have this slideshow created, and I want to then publish this so that I can then put it on some kind of website, or maybe provide the link so that people can see it. All right, and I can do that by going to File, and I go to Publish to the Web. And when you go to File, Publish to the Web, this one is already published. Because you have the choice of going with the link. You have the choice of telling it how long each slide will last. If you click on it, you have everything from 1 second up to a minute. All right, and then You have toggle. You can start the show as soon as the player loads, and you can restart the show. And down at the bottom, and it gives you the URL, the link if you're going to use the link. And then at the bottom, if you are Google Apps for Education School, you can toggle it so that it requires anybody inside of your domain to be logged in to see it. So it gives you a little bit of security. Right? And I went with this one. I went to embed. Now I'm going to show you what I did with the embed code as well. I put it onto a website. All right. The embed, I have it set for a medium at 960, 749, and I have it set for every 3 seconds by default. And we can change it to, let's say, every 15 seconds. And I'm going to start the slideshow as soon as the player loads. And I start the show here. And it provides you, as you're doing that, it generates this code that you can then copy and paste onto a website. See, and then down here, you can toggle if you're in a domain, a Google Apps for Domain or Google for Work. You can click it so that then you need to be signed in to your account to view this. So you take this code and you go to a website, and I already pasted this onto a Google site. All right, and here's the Google site that I created. I went to the Google site, and the show is already on here, and it is set to advance, if I remember correctly, every 15 seconds. And some usages for this. All right, and then I'm almost done here, so bear with me. So if you have a Google presentation, you can publish it to the web. You can take that code and put it onto a website. In my case, I also have, we work with a portal, an LMS, and so I ended up embedding this video onto the classes, or onto, I do this to share some work, or I do this to share announcements. This one is just an example, a generic example. So you see the slides advancing because we set it to play automatically when the player loads, and we set it to every 15 seconds. All right, and when a student or somebody goes to that website, that refreshes the browser, and you see this presentation. The beauty about this is when we have that working Google slideshow, this one here, for example, this is the one that we built it. We can come back in here and change the slideshow. See that right there? Let's take this picture and let's just make it a lot bigger. Let's just get rid of that. And we're going to make this picture just to prove that it's a lot. We can change it on the fly. I'm going to make this just to cover the whole thing. I've done that by going into the background, but there we are. All right. And Google, remember that Google Slides saves everything automatically. There it is. It's saved automatically. I'm gonna go back to that presentation. And if you just look at the slides, I think it was slide 8. There's that picture, slide 7. All right. Okay. Slide 8. There we are. It saves automatically onto and then refreshes out here. Let me stop for a second. The reason this refreshed automatically is that I have this up here. Here, let me control my. This is a Google slide that I embedded, and it plays automatically. However, if you're making changes to that Google slideshow by going into the builder, the only way those changes are going to appear here is once somebody refreshes the website or goes somewhere else and it comes back to it because it refreshes it. All right, which is okay because that's usually what you do. All right, but my idea is to use Google Presentation as a simple signage solution. Very simple to create a Google presentation that has a series of slides. And then we have at the school several TVs, and this is where I'm experimenting with it right now. So I'd love to hear from some of you who have done this before. And I'm experimenting with a Google Chrome box to one of the flat screen TVs. And that Google Chrome box is going to have this website on it. And problem that I've run into when using Google Slides for this simple Google signage is that once you put the slideshow up there and someone makes a change on the slide builder, it won't automatically see here. It'll save, but it won't show on the slideshow that's playing because you have to refresh the page. Someone has to physically click refresh or shut it down, come back up. And a solution that I have found that it makes this possible is this little tiny app up here, little extension on the Chrome store, on the Google Web Store, Chrome Store. And it is called Easy Refresh, Easy Auto Refresh. And I put that on there, and it allows you to refresh, set a refresh time for that Chrome browser, that particular tab. And right now I have it set for 900 seconds. And if I hit start, every 900 seconds, this window will refresh. And by refreshing, it'll capture and display any of the changes that I input here. For example, this picture here, let's get rid of that. This one is not full screen, so I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger. All right, and I'm going to make that so that it covers the entire slide. It might lose a little bit of it, but there it is. Now it covers the entire slide. It saves automatically. I'm going to go back to that presentation. All right, and it's set for 900 seconds. I'm going to just put it at like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, just to make sure, to show everybody. And it's set, and it's counting down 3, 2, 1, and it refreshes automatically. There it is. It causes the browser to refresh, and because it refreshes, it now picks up any of the changes. Here, I'll stop it right now because I set it for 5 seconds, but you can set it for, in seconds, you can set it for as long as you want. But now that it refreshed, it picked up the changes that we made previously. There's the picture, there's the other one. So before, it wasn't there. And because of that little tiny app, along with Google Presentations, I can then create this page, web page that refreshes itself in X amount of seconds. Meaning I can put this presentation on a big screen TV. Because it's Google Presentation, we have people can add more information or adjust or update this presentation daily, weekly, and then not just one person, but because it's Google, you can add, share to 3 or 4 people that then are in charge of creating and adding content to this slideshow, which then is being presented on some kind of TV or projector around the campus. So you have basically a poor man's signage, and it works okay. All right. Again, I'm still experimenting with this, so I'll let everybody know how the experimentation works and goes. But there it is. It's from the simple Google presentation, it's used for presentations, to making your slide deck just a little bit more wow, using Google Presentations to create posters and or magazines or critiques, very creative usages of the slide itself, and then how to then publish that presentation that you create, and not only publish, but because you can publish and then add a little tiny app extension to your Chrome, you can have it refresh, and so that anytime you add new content to your Google presentation, the presentation that is being displayed on your website refreshes every once, so it'll capture the new changes. So imagine a bulletin board of some kind. Imagine displays of pictures, athletic pictures. Imagine students' best work that you put on some kind of slideshow like this, and it is constantly showing all the latest updates that people have added to the presentation. All right. I'll stop at that point, and I'll just take a look, see if anybody has given any questions. If you have any questions later on, feel free to add to today's meet or at the bottom of the Google presentations here. Okay. or contact me. You have my handle on the at Mr. Juan Martinez on Twitter. At Mr. Juan Martinez on Twitter. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody.